just so grateful. Thank you so much to see so many old faces and new faces and just all your support, because as a lot of you know, I've been writing this book for a really long time, and so it's just a really great joy to finally have a copy in hand. So thank you so much for coming out and for your support. And this is my friend Shayna Ellis, and we're going to be doing a little bit of interviewing, Q&A, back and forth, and then also after we do a little bit of that, open it up to any questions that you might have. And again, depending how that goes, if you want me to, I can read a couple of excerpts from the book, but that's basically what we're going to do. But thank you again just so much for coming. I just really appreciate it, because I'm really excited about this book and hopefully the discussions that might result from people reading this book. So should we sit down or stand up? Do you think it'll be here if we sit down, or we need to project?
I can project.
Okay, well I'll try to project.
The tall chairs.
Oh, the tall chairs?
Oh,
just the tall chairs? Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. You can rest your feet on the
Feet on the table.
Perfect.
Okay.
So, like Micah said, I'm Shayna Ellis, and Micah and I, we've probably been friends for going on 20 years, maybe.
Maybe, yeah. It's hard to get.
Well,
our kids, you lose
Our
track.
kids are 18, so maybe 15 years.
Yeah.
I distinctly remember this book, and the birth of this book, when Mike and I, along with 3 other women, went on a vacation in April of 2019. And first of all, Micah, we were gone for 12 days, and Micah had a carry-on only. And her laptop was in her carry-on, and the other 4 of us had giant suitcases, and she carried around that laptop the whole time, and I'm like, Micah, what's going on? And that's when I found out that she was writing this book. So she, that was, like I said, in April 2019, and I don't know when you had started it, because you read some...
Before that. It had been going on for a few years before that.
Well, I was going to say, she had read some excerpts from it to us, and it just so happens my sister, she lives in Texas, and she was just so happened to be up here, and she was on vacation with us whenever we took that trip in April. And reading the book now, it's nothing like it was in 2019. So that just shows you all the thought and effort and how much it evolves and changes. And I read your first book, Wingspan, and it was a nonfiction. You did wonderful, wonderful interviews with a bunch of single moms. So what made you want to write fiction?
Okay, so basically I am a writer, but more than a writer, I am a connector. Like most of you who know me know that is my passion. It's relationships, it's connecting people, it's building community. And so yes, I have a background in journalism, and yeah, I was a press secretary for 10 years on Capitol Hill, and I wrote Wingspan. But fiction and stories has a power to connect people and to convey truth that nonfiction just doesn't have. And so that is why I, had to learn a whole new genre, because my desire was to convey the really powerful truth of, God's relentless love for us, right? And so that's my desire, that in this book that will connect people. And one of the things that's over there on the table over there are some sign-ups for book groups. There we have one in Choctaw, one in Heritage Hills, one in Norman, and one in Edmond. And actually all the people who've volunteered to lead those are actually here today, so you could meet them. Actually, you want to stand up? There's Barbara is leading one in Heritage Hills, and Marcia right here is leading one in Edmond, and Wendy back in the back there is leading one in Norman, and
Nope, they left.
Oh, and the Choctaw person, she headed out. So again, if you're interested, so when you read this book, you're going to want to discuss it with people. That's just kind of the nature of it. And there's discussion questions in the back. So if you are in one of those areas, like I say, feel free to fill that out. And also, I'm giving a free gift to anybody who does sign up to be in one of the book groups of an audio book. So if you put your email down there, I will send you a link for a free audio book if you want to be in the book group. So you can have your paper copy, which I like to have both, paper copy and the audio book copy. And then there's also another sign up if you want to lead your own group, like if you have your Sunday school class or your book club, or just invite your neighbors or your girlfriends, or my friend Mary here, she's on her 3rd group, right? Mary, where are you? There's me. Oh, did she step out? Okay, so I think so far she wins the prize. So if you want to lead your own group, or if you're like, I don't want to lead a group, I just want to be in one and none of these work out, there's another sign up there. So there's a total of 6 different sign ups. So like I say, so that's just another thing. But yeah, so back to your, I'm sorry, kind of rambling, but yeah, that's why I switched to fiction, just because I believe in that we need community, and we need connection, and I'm a connector. So, long story, long answer.
I was going to say, if any of you know Micah, that is actually, like, you were brought here, that was your purpose, to connect people. But you're just really, really, really good at that. So I have read the book. I kind of am wanting to know who did you see as your target audience? Because I'm not giving anything away, but in the book, there's like a mother-child relationship that's kind of the mother-daughter, I think. Obviously, there's a marriage going on in there. There's a woman with her friends. She has a relationship with her friends. So who was kind of your target audience?
Yeah. So in a lot of ways, this book is both a love story to and a critique of the modern American church. So it obviously appeals to women. Like, a lot of the women who read the first chapter, are like, oh my gosh. But before I'd written it, I kind of sent out free copies of the first chapter. Like, I can't wait to finish it. I'm totally hooked. And that was women's response. So women, and then Christians, like I say, because it is, a love letter to, and also a critique of the modern American church. And then C.S. Lewis fans, because you don't have to look very far to see the parallels to the inspiration from C.S. Lewis's Screwtape Letters. But the audience is actually much broader than that. To really, it's an invitation to anyone who is interested in kind of the deeper spiritual level of what's going on in this world. So again, I think that's some of the beauty of fiction, that you can kind of discuss these things. You can discuss these. It makes it safe to discuss
Maybe fictional characters.
A fictional character. Instead of me. So I'm not talking about me. I'm talking about Abby, right?
Exactly. But it really is me. But I'm talking about Abby.
Right. Exactly. So again, that the audience and is really, like I say, anybody who's really interested in a little bit of what goes on under the surface, in the spiritual level.
Yeah. So whenever you were thinking about this event and putting together this event, kind of what were you hoping to accomplish, or what?
So I was really hoping to see some, old friends and some familiar faces, as well as meet some new ones. And so I think that's definitely accomplished. Like I say, so glad to see all of you. But and so I wanted to do that, of course. But more than to see people or to sell books, what I really want to do, and to introduce you to this story, is again to connect you with one another. And so that's what I hope that, like I say, these book groups might do, or these discussion groups might do. So that's kind of what I was really hoping, maybe say as you go home and read the book or give the book, great Christmas present, it's everybody. Then it gives you the opportunity to give the gift. I mean, maybe if you like those people that you gave it to, to like reconnect with them and say, hey, why don't we get together and go through some of these study questions together and get that group of that gift of community with them, as well as a book. Because we can say even if they're far away. Like I know some people, like I mentioned Mary, when she's doing a Zoom call with them, she gave it the gift, and then they're going to do a Zoom group with somebody in DC and I think Minnesota. I'm not sure. So again, and again, you see that's one of the themes in the book. Again, it's not a spoiler to say, there's demons and angels in the book, and one of the things that the demons are going to, say is like, in our society, we are more distracted and more isolated than ever. And we were not meant, as the science says, we're not meant to live alone. We need other people to help us see ourselves, to help us to process truth. And so that is what I hope is that this book will help you to do that with other people. So
Awesome. Yeah. Well, Micah, thank you so much for bringing us together. I'm so proud of you. I've been watching this baby grow for several years now, and so I'm just so proud of you. Did any of you have questions? Thoughts?
Doug's not allowed to ask any questions, but anybody else.
Do I get to call on this gentleman
Okay,
or no?
yes, gentleman in the back there.
This
So-
random gentleman who I don't know.
So I've read the book.
How many times, Tom, have you read
I'm
it?
a big fan. It could be the best book I've ever read outside the Bible.
That's my husband, Tom. Full disclosure.
Full disclosure, my question is, for those who haven't read it, if they pick it up and they see the front cover, back cover, and they might think, is this just another story about good versus evil? How is that relevant in modern society today? What would you say to them?
Oh, well, without giving anything away, I would say, well, again, just the title, The Unseen Battle, An Unexpected Love Story. I would say this book is, it just conveys truth on a lot of different levels. And I think that's going to be part of the fun, again, part of the fun of discovering it, because it's a love story between a husband and wife. It's a love story about God and his bride, the church. It's like I say, there's the relationships that represent our relationships with one another. So there's just a lot going on there, and I will just kind of throw out there that my favorite kind of story, it always has been since I was little. I'd write little short stories. I always love the stories that have the big twist at the end where you're like, oh my gosh, I didn't see that coming, and now I have to go read the whole thing again, like all last Sixth Sense or whatnot. And so as Kat knows, who was in my critique group for many years, and as Shana, who read some early versions, I kept on, like I say, my original version of this book was more straight like Screw Tape. Oh, it's just demon letters. It's just kind of looking at things from a different way. And then I talked to an agent, and they're like, it's a little heavy on the demon. Could you, do it from an angel perspective? And I'm like, I kind of need the demon. And I'm like, can you do both? So I'm like, okay, angel and demon. And then I'm like, oh, now it needs it. Now it's really fiction. Like at first I thought, oh, this is just a clever way to write an essay. But then I talked to one of the people at our writers conference. It's like, if you don't believe that demons really write letters, you're writing fiction, and you need to, have some plot and character arc and all these things. And so I'm like, okay, now I have to do all that. And then it's like, oh, I found this woman's journal, and that'll be the perfect way to, convey all that. So I had to rewrite the book every single time. And then I finally was like, oh wait, I have this idea. I love it. A twist at the end. Wait, could I do the whole thing over, and like work this out through the whole book? So that's why it took so long, but that's why I feel like that it is what it is, and that it's not, I would just say it's not probably like anything you've ever read before. So it's not just your basic story. It's kind of a lot more. Any other questions? Yes.
What inspired you to write the book?
Ooh, what inspired me to write the book? Okay, well, so if anybody who knows me and reads this book will probably see a lot of autobiographical things. That's kind of, just happens a lot. So it's not too surprising that a lot of the things in the book, actually including the inspiration, actually happened. Where it's like I it's about deception, right? That the Satan is the father of lies. He's the angel of light who comes to us and deceives us. So I was convinced, I was thinking I was kind of in a moral quandary, and I was like, oh, this is the right decision. Oh, yes, this is the right decision. This is what I'm going to do. I'm so proud of myself that I'm going to do this thing that's, you know, the right thing. And then my husband, I mentioned to him, oh, I'm going to do this thing. And he's like, you know, maybe that's not, said it in a very kind way, like, you know, said maybe that's not the best thing. And then I realized, oh, right, that's not, but the thought was, I was so convinced. It wasn't just like, you know, that evil comes to you and is like, hey, you know, how about you know, do this bad thing. It's like, no, this is actually the good thing. And so I thought, just personally, I thought, you know what, that's if I was a demon, how would I convince someone? Like, what would I do? Maybe it would be a helpful exercise to just start thinking that way. And so I just started doing that. I just started like, you know, just kind of playing around with it. And then I actually, on another trip, this is when I really started writing the book in earnest. It was actually Tom and I, we went on our 10-year anniversary, and I told him, like, hey, I have this idea, I'm gonna do this. And he was like, that is a terrible idea. You should not do that. That is the worst idea. And so you know that he's not just a, you know, yay, Micah, everything you do. But as we were on this trip, it was a cruise, you know, day after day, a lot of time to talk, I kind of read to him some of the things I'd written and some of the sketches, and he was like, that is a great idea. Like, you should do that. That's like really, you know, like, oh, that's really good. And so that's kind of a long story of how that got started. But it was a long process after that. Any other questions? Yes.
You've mentioned that I've seen in some of the stuff relative to the church,
Mm-hmm.
but I haven't heard in what you said how that fits into this.
Right. Well, that is part of the twist.
That's parts you can't talk about.
That's right.
So what is your background?
Oh, my
in
background.
church?
Okay, so I was raised Southern Baptist here in Oklahoma, where with everybody seemed to be Southern Baptist. And then I went away to college and to London for a while and to Washington, D.C. And I wasn't really tied to any particular denomination. I actually met my husband at a church founded by Mennonites, but that was actually intentionally interdenominational and interracial and inter-socioeconomic. And then the two of us made a quality of life decision to move back here to Oklahoma once we had kids. And we went to a small country church, Harmony Christian, and then we went to McFarland United Methodist in Norman for about 13 years. That's where I met Shayna. And then most recently, we moved here to Heritage Hills since COVID, and I actually, last thing in the world I ever thought, but I converted to Catholicism. And so we actually have a mixed family because we go to Frontline over here every other week. I go to St. Francis of Assisi every week, but I also go to Frontline and I'm in a small group there. So we have a very ecumenical family. And actually that's a part of my passion is I'm just ever since I went to school, I went to a small school in Michigan, and my not my roommate, but my next door neighbor was Roman Catholic, and at the time I had been taught to think that, you know,
They weren't Christian.
yeah, they weren't Christian, right? And I saw her and I felt like, oh man, she like, you know, does all these things. She fasts on Fridays and she, you know, does all these things, and she's like so devout. And I'm like, and she thinks I'm going to hell. And I was like, wow, like we believe all these things the same. If we're really part of the body of Christ, it must make him so sad that the one part of the body says, like that hand, like that's not my foot. Like no, that's not my foot. You know, like that. You know, his last words to his disciples was that we would be unified, and that, you know, I mean, yes, there's a zillion denominations, but there's just a real division between Catholic and Protestant, and so I think that makes God sad, and so that's part of my passion is to maybe help to heal some of that divide. Not necessarily with this book, but but just in general. So, yeah. Yeah. Any other questions?
You said not necessarily with this book. Do you see yourself writing a sequel for this?
So, depending on how this goes, yes, I do have in the back of my head another book, but we'll just see how this one goes. So, and I would be, again, I feel like, I feel very strongly, my husband can tell you this, and my friends, that I feel like God gave me this book. Like, I had like 6 jobs, like I did like all the things. I do lots of things, and you know, there's always the tyranny of the urgent. But I really like felt in my heart like, okay, I have to write this book. I have to publish this book. I have to get this book out in the world, because if I don't, I'm not being obedient. So really, this is an act of obedience and like following through to do this. And actually, that came partially from, you guys might know this, the story of the parable of the talents, where the master went away on a long trip. He gave his 3 servants these different talents, you know, one like 10 and one 100, I don't remember now, 30 and 10, and you know, they just, the one, he only gave one to, and the other one said, oh, you know, came back, we did all this, and the one said, oh, I was afraid, and so I just buried it in the ground, and here it is back, just the one you gave me. And when I read that story, and they were talking about your passions, and saying your passion is not something, it's not a hobby, it's not something that changes, it's something that God gave you. And you know, I was like, oh, like my passion is to write a book, like to write a story. And at that point, again, I'd been a press secretary, I'd gone to journalism school, and I was written all my life, but I was like, oh, my passion is to write a book, and like, so this, but I thought, oh no, I've done it the responsible thing, like, writing books doesn't make money, it doesn't pay the bills, it doesn't support you, it's kind of egotistical, but then like say that story made me think like, oh no, I have, not only I get permission to do this, but also obligation, like I have to do this, and I get to do this, so, yeah. Do you guys want to hear a little excerpt?
Yes, please.
Okay, so let's see, what can this one.
Twist at the end.
I will say those are my, if I was going to read my favorite parts, it would actually be the parts at the end, but I can't read those because that will spoil it. But I'll just tell you, the best parts at the end, like get through, don't not finish, you don't want to not finish. Okay, so I'm going to read this one's a shorter one. So okay, this is, again, these are letters, so it's from Demon Twisttail to, so it's a demon, and this is revealed in the first couple of pages. It's the head demon here on the North American continent. He's in charge of, corruption in America, and he's kind of tutoring this demon who's moved over from the Eastern Hemisphere. So he's like, basically, this is how we do corruption in the West. So this is a Dear Stumbletrick. I assure you, gluttony is a sin as dangerous as any other, perhaps even more so. If all sins attempt to fill voids, as one irritating but perceptive little French philosopher put it, then it should be evident to you that gluttony is at the heart of a myriad of evils. There's a reason it made the top 7 list. So by all means, fan every manifestation of this vice, from finishing off the package of cookies by herself in the pantry, to binge watching television until the wee hours of the morning, to stuffing her closet or padding her bank account. Gluttony is, after all, the original sin. Desiring to possess, craving to taste, coveting the forbidden. Keep telling her it's no big deal. Keep normalizing what should be causing her to hang her head in shame. Send dopamine surging through her brain, not only with every bite and every sip, but with every like on her posts about wine or chocolate addiction. Let her joke and laugh it off and send funny memes to her friends about tacos and donuts. Self-control has never been her strong suit. More is better. Gluttonous eating serves as a simple but satisfying means to destroying that, quote, temple our enemy gave them while on earth. But the consequences of this sin are not limited to her waistline. Never let her consider the people in poor countries who made all those clothes that she got for such a deal, or where her trinkets and t-shirts will go when they fall apart, or she tires of them after 3 wears. Best that she never thinks about how those, quote, harmless habits enslave her. If those thoughts do raise their ugly head, smash them down with the full weight of evil so she can't bear to venture down that road. Offer her only two choices. Either her indulgent behavior must be perfectly acceptable, laudable even, or she must be responsible for infinite human suffering because she bought a $10 top at Target. Given only those two extremes, she'll definitely opt for the former over the rabbit hole of examining the morality of her consumption habits. She'll continue as she has all these years under my guidance, blindly and robotically consuming, attempting to fill the void, but only succeeding in enslaving herself, and others even more, never realizing she is constructing her own prison cell until the deadbolt slides in behind her. We're so close, I can almost taste her soul. Twist tail.
That wasn't even the best part.
Yeah, we had to say that. So I think there's still plenty of really yummy cookies. I want to say thank you to the people who made those. Again, there's my mom made some right back there in the blue sweater, and I don't know, is Mary around? It's Sherry, and I don't know where they are. Okay, so Mandy and my sister Mandy, and like I say, I would love it if you, like I say, did take a look at those sign-ups for the book groups and signed up to either be part of one or to lead one. And again, if you did want to lead one, again, in addition to the free audio book, I have other like book packages. Like if you bought like a bunch of books for your group or something, we could talk about it. You just write your name down there. But if there's not any other questions, I'm gonna say just enjoy, and thank you so much again for coming.
Thank you.